Hello, I am Vicky Manitou Okas, and I'm going to do some propagation today. I'm going to take some cuttings and I'm going to put them in my trusty um, propagation tray. This is a style that I have been using for oh, 30 years, and it works beautifully most of the time. Depends on the plant and the time of year and the stage of growth. But it works better than any other propagation method I have tried for taking cuttings. So I'm going to run through some of the things that I do for propagating some of my best cuttings. So what I'm going to do to get this ready is clean this up, and I'm going to put a little bit of water in here to reset it. Okay. In a propagation tray, I use either distilled water, bottled water, well water, or rainwater. And this is rainwater. And I'm going to add water. I'm going to add water to this until it starts coming out of these drainage holes. Okay, this is set up so that it holds water down in the bottom, and it wicks the water up into the top where the cuttings are at. But it doesn't drown the cuttings, so the cuttings stay moist, but they don't drown, so that they root nicely. And the sand makes a nice medium for the roots to push through, so that it has really strong roots. Sometimes if you're rooting in just plain water, it doesn't create, it creates what's called water roots, which are not as strong and viable as regular soil roots. And this, propagating this way, creates the soil roots, but it still has good moisture for the roots to take off. There's several ways to get plant material to propagate, and none of these are right now are at the ideal stage. It's a little bit too early in the season for the rosemary. Is just getting started. I prefer to wait for another month beyond this. This is early March, but it is starting to grow, so I'm going to give it a try. Okay, the other way that you can get plenty material is some of the herbs. You can use the fresh cut that you find in the grocery aisle, the produce aisle, and sometimes this works. Depends upon how fresh those cuttings are, okay, as to whether they will work or not. Mint family usually works pretty good, which these are all mint family. So we're going to give that a try. Okay, and I use just regular commercial rooting hormone. Okay, and I never dip into the container. So I have a little container here, put a little bit of rooting hormone into the container. And set that aside. I'll add some more if I need to. Okay, so we're going to start with what I got at the grocery store. And just be aware that when you're buying the fresh cut herbs at the grocery store, This actually has a fairly low rate of rooting. Sometimes it works, but it's a way to get inexpensive plants if it works. So I've got some thyme in here as well. So I'm going to take the best parts of this thyme and I am going to cut it right below a node, and a node is where the leaves grow from. And again, I am going to take the leaves off of the bottom of that. Okay. Look at the end of it, dip it in the rooting hormone. I'm going to make a slit. Tuck that in. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that for the rest of these. So I only want about 3 or 4 inches, but I want the top 3 or 4 inches. The rest of that will be good cooking herbs. Trim off any leaves at the bottom. Again, these are tender stems, so I want to be careful about damaging the stem. All right, the plants that work the best from the grocery store, in my experience, are thyme, mint, and rosemary. And to do this, you need to pick the freshest plants that you can. The one, if it's wilting when you buy it, bring it home from the grocery store, it probably won't root. And then you have to cut off that dried up end. And try to propagate the best parts of the plants that you bring back. Well, thanks for joining me today. I had a lot of fun propagating cuttings. See if they'll take. Even if the conditions aren't ideal, I do it anyway. So I love my little propagation tray. I can take cuttings and off of my mother plants and propagate just about anywhere. So, even if it's not ideal conditions, sometimes it takes and sometimes it doesn't, but it's free material, so give it a try. And that is just a really, really inexpensive way to propagate plants. And the propagation tray is so easy to make, so check that out.